Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's race here at Britain. This is the British Grand Prix here at Silverstone, the amazing historical circuit. We are here for the 9th round today of the Race Spec F1 Pacific Tier 1 Series, and with all to play for today, we are getting ready to go underway. Qualifying is just a minute and a half of the way through, so we have our first drivers on their out laps. We have the fog, we have that laggy person, we have Mail the Snail, AB Armatia, and OLR Argon out on the track already. This looks to be an interesting race today. We have seen a fair few battles out of the front. New Zealand Ryan showing his pace last week, doing a brilliant job. So we will see how things go this week. Some new names coming in. Alan Hugo being one of the drivers to take up the spot and should prove to be a good shout for a position towards the front of the field today. Well, that being said, we are in for a good race today. Qualifying looks to be dry so far, and we're going to go on board with OLR Argon as he starts his flying lap. So right across the line, then under the Pirelli bridge, looking to hit the apex nice and tight, trying not to lose the rear end as he does there, and that is the first spin of the session. Then we'll try and find someone else about to start their lap. Have a look around. Couple drivers on their out lap still. Geordie looks to be about to start his lap, so let's go on board. Across the start-finish line we go, under the Pirelli bridge, turning in at about the 50-meter mark, trying to take that apex nice and tight, running onto the curb on the left-hand side, braking about the 75-meter mark, running as close to the inside red curb as possible, taking a nice wide line, doing the same, running to that curb here, coming out a little bit wider potentially, running across the inside line. DRS is now open as we come under the Emirates walkover here, braking about the 75-50-meter mark, again, cutting as much of that curb as possible. Some drivers like to take a wider double apex line. Geordie here appears to be going for a much tighter, consistent radius line throughout the corner there. As we come under the Fanatec lookout. Here we come now through Cops, I believe. And the infamous Maggots and Beckett's here. Running over those curbs as best as possible. Shifting down pretty much every time he changed direction. DRS open for the final time of this lap. The run into the last few corners here. You want to brake just about as you get to the curb. Take as much of the curb on the inside as possible, but too much there for Geordie as he messes up his qualifying lap. Potentially on for a good lap there. That is going to be disappointing there for the Renault driver, who will immediately and thankfully go into the pits. He did spin out just in front of the pits, so that saves him a bit of time, potentially gives him a chance for another run. Looking around the field a little bit more, in fact, let's get that track map up. This driver's about to start their lap. It looks like one of the Williams drivers just finished a lap, Kart Racer. So Kart Racer putting in a 26 flat. Laggy person with a 25.3, currently your leader. In this qualifying session, we have one of the Red Bulls getting ready to start a lap. That would be Palms for the win, so we're going to go down to him and go on board with his lap. Rather, he's just finished a lap. Apologies. AB Armatia is on an out lap. New Zealand Ryan is on an out lap in the Alfa Romeo. So we're going to go on board with him as he looks to start a lap here. A pad driver, a rapid driver in his own remark. We're on board now with New Zealand Ryan as he takes us around a lap of this historic circuit. You see he takes a little bit less of the curb than other drivers might have. A little bit wider through there. He's going to run out just shy of the curb on the left-hand side. Still getting to that sausage curb on the inside of both apexes. Running out nice and wide onto the Astro Turf to give him a bit more space to carry more momentum. Down here, braking about the 50-meter mark. Nice and tight through there. Not taking as much curb as Geordie did earlier. This is that wider line that we were talking about, a wider double apex. Can be beneficial in carrying the speed towards the exit of the track as we have this massive run down into Cop's Corner here. Braking about the 50-meter mark as that laggy person has DC'd from the session. We have a slow car through Maggotts and Beckett's. Alan Hugo is going to move out the way of Ryan. That could compromise his lap, though, just from a distraction standpoint. He is closing up on the Haas of Warden, who appears to be giving him a slipstream down the back straight. So some inter-team play going on there. Braking just as the curb starts. A little bit of the sausage curb being taken on both apexes. Running out to the curb. A little bit of traction loss there. Across the line for a 25-1. Currently the second fastest behind Alan Hugo 04 in the McLaren. So a driver to watch out for. He will be one to look out for in today's race. 10 minutes ago of qualifying. Perhaps a little bit longer due to the bug that allows you to go out for your out lap and then start your lap once qualifying is finished. We'll see if that continues to be abused in today's race, as it was last week in Austria. Fogg then is on his out lap, taking a very slow lap, letting Ryan past. We have a driver on an out lap right now. It's DRC Jared, who is further up the field. So we will go on board with Jared as he's getting ready to start his lap. On board with Jared as we cross the start-finish line. Yellow flag in Sector 1, so that is a Williams going slowly, taking a nice amount of that curb there. Kart racer out of the way. Jared runs a little bit deep there, looking to get a nice tight apex on the second one, a little bit wider than New Zealand Ryan, and we'll see how his sector times compare in just a second. We'll get his telemetry on board as well, why not? And to lap that up. So 26.9, I believe, was the first sector. Relatively good. Double apex there for DRC Jared. So we run down to the next corner. Flat through there. Doing well so far. 317 on turn-in to Maggotts and Beckett's. Shifting down from 7th and 6th there into that second right-hander. DRS open. And a 101.5 concludes his second sector. We'll see where he ends up on his third sector run now. He does have a Red Bull directly ahead. So that's either that's either Laggy Person or Pom's to win, who sit 7th and 8th, only 300ths of a second. That was Pom's starting a lap, and that is Jared a 10th behind Alan Hugo, currently sitting P2 for the Mercedes. We're going to go on board then with Pom's for the win as he starts his lap. So at the end of the first sector, we have no time apparently. A 26.9, which is about on par with what Jared was able to put in. We'll see how his other sectors hold up. Coming under the Fanatec lookout. Flat through the right-hander. Keeping a bit conservative on the exit. Just looking to take a nice time there. 316 on corner entry, so maybe a little bit more downforce. Taking four wheels, nearly off there. Oh, nice and deep, and that will be Pom's lap invalidated for what was looking to be a decent run through the lap there. So Pom's will likely be heading back into the pits on this occasion. We do have another set of drivers out on the laps right now, one of whom, Alan Hugo, your current pole sitter. coming through the right-hander. Nice and flat. Taking a nice wide line there, using as much of the track as possible. Corner entry is 315, 316, so a little bit less aero or momentum being carried. A little bit more aero, rather. Or less momentum being carried than DRC Jared before. Jumping in behind Jordy to get a little bit of his toe. Getting what he can. Nice tight line over that apex there. Head into the final chicane. A little bit of a lockup. Will that compromise his lap? We will see. That is a 24-3 from Alan Hugo, who manages to pass once again the driver that had managed to get into P2, Zach JW22. So an impressive run by Zach then, who we're having issues with his audio, so we will not worry about going on board with him. Master Berserk is, I believe, on an in-lap? Yep, in-lap. Who's on that lap then? We have Mattia, Kart Racer, Wilbur, and Argon. Argon being the slowest driver to have put a lap down so far, so we'll go on board with him as he starts a lap. It'll be tight for him to finish this lap and get another one in before the end of qualifying. So we'll see how he manages. Currently 3.1 seconds off of the pace. And needs to improve by at least a few seconds to find himself into the top 10. So on board then with OLR Argon, managing to hold the car together through this first set of corners. Relatively tight through there, not as tight as the likes of Alan. Maybe a bit slow on corner, mid-corner. See where he sits at the end of this. Likely a 25.2, I want to eyeball. 27.5. Oh, that's right. I was thinking 24s by the other guys. Nope, so he's already about 6 or 7 tenths down on the other drivers. At the front of the field. It's not too big of a margin. He might be running a lower downforce setup, as he's already about 315. Let's see where he ends up on corner entry. Yeah, 317, so about the same as Jared. He didn't get as good a run through there, so I would suggest that he's running a lower downforce setup. We'll see how that plays. 103.5 in Sector 2. We'll see where he ends up in Sector 3. Braking for the final chicane. Here we go. How has this lap shaped up for OLR Argon? It is a 127.1. So he's able to improve to P17, but not much improvement beyond that. So most drivers getting ready to get out on their final runs now. Geordie is the first driver back out of the pits after completing a run, and will likely be looking to improve from a 24.9 potentially to a mid-24. He's had flashes of pace, so I do believe that is a possibility for him. Here we go then. Over the apex we go, hugging that inside curb, braking as the curb starts, getting nice and tight onto that sausage curb, and a bit of wheel spin there sees him ditch the lap already. So now he has to decide between racing back to the pits or going for another lap on this set of tires. Pardon me, a little bit tired. Not sure why. I actually got some good sleep last night, surprisingly. Alrighty then, so we have 2 minutes 10 seconds. I expect drivers to start coming out around now. As you see a movement in the pits, Kart Racer has retired from the session, likely invalidating one of his runs. I think the driver to watch... Who do we want to watch on this one? Top 3. Could be interesting. I think Zach might be able to move up on Alan, but I'm not entirely sure there. Maybe worth seeing. he is ahead of Alan. The first driver out on the track today is either that laggy person or Palms for the win. Have a look around. Yep, so Palms for the win will be the first driver to complete a lap in this qualifying session at the end of the final runs. So we're going to go on board with him. Here we go. Final lap then. Across the start-finish line. Palms for the win currently sitting P13, looking to improve into the top 10. Geordie has retired from the session, so it looks like a half spin there. As we come through now, the Red Bull driver nice and tight to those apexes in that first part of the chicane. A little bit of a lock-up. It's going to run out almost at the curb, maybe a little bit shallow. Could potentially have looked for a bit more mid-corner speed there. We're looking at some drivers moving out the way at the end of their warm-up laps, or out laps. Palms for the win then, still sitting in the 25s, looking to improve to a 24, and that should see him in the top 10. OLR Argon has retired from the session, so the McLaren driver will not be making another run of it. Coming through Cop's Corner now, and into Maggots and Beckett's for the Red Bull driver. We'll see where he's at the end of this sector. A 1:01.8, so that is a good time. That's about on par with what Jared was able to do earlier. So let's see where he stands after this final chicane. Palms for the win. Has shown good pace in the past. Can he bother the top 5 today? Can he make something happen? A little bit wide. Manages to hold traction together. Comes across the line for a 24.8. That puts him in P9 at the line. Second driver across the line will be Wilberforce. Across he comes. He improves to a 25.3. Next across will be Master Berserk. Followed by the Fog. Coming across the line for an invalidated lap. Mail the Snail just in front of the AlphaTauri driver of Zach JW, who has managed to go into P1. It's now up to this man to see if he can get the lap back as Jared goes into P1 by 2 tenths. Can Alan improve? What can he do? He is just about a tenth shy of Jared, and that will see Jared on pole position as Ryan has invalidated his lap. The only 2 drivers remaining are Penske, who has also invalidated his lap. So that will be the last remaining drivers in the pits. Warden across the line, 24.8. So Palms were able to take P9. Your top 3, Jared, Alan Hugo, and Zach JW. So here's your top 10 then. DRC Jared on pole position with a 24.0. Alan Hugo in P2 with a 24.1. Zach JW in P3 with a 24.2. 24.4 from New Zealand Ryan. Master Berserk with 24.5. P6 ABR Mattia with 24.6. P7 Brazuca 82 with a 24.8. Kart Racer in P8 with a 24.8. P9 you have Palms for the win with a 24.8 as well. And P10 rounding out the top 10 with just a 24.8, a 24.899, Warden 99. The rest of the drivers will have free choice of tires. One driver that we did not see throughout the session until the very end, New Zealand Venom, qualifying P11 in that instance. So we're about to get underway here at Silverstone. We're loading into the track now, and let's see what we have in store. It is a rain race, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. It's raining, it's pouring, the engines are roaring here at Silverstone as we are getting ready to go underway once again. The drivers are choosing their strategies, and we are excited for what will be, at least for some duration of the race, variable conditions. How exciting. How exciting is that? Apologies for that. We had a quick interruption in the stream. Not sure what happened there. But we are building up then to the start of this race in the rain. Let's run for your grid then again. In P1, the Mercedes driver of DRC Jared. In P2, Alan Hugo 04. In P3, Zach JW. In P4, the Alfa Romeo driver of New Zealand Ryan. P5, Mars Berserk. P6, ABR Mattia. P7, Brazuca 82. P8, Kart Racer. P9, Palms for the win. P10, Warden 99. P11, Geordie JL 23. P12, New Zealand Venom. P13, Penske 17. P14, that laggy person. P15, Wilberforce 24. P16 is that Matt. P17, the Fog. P18, All Our Argon. P19, Nail Snail. And P20 is Jamie. So you can see it's predicted to be a race in the Inters throughout today's event. So we'll see how that all manages to come about. We're going to go on board for the start with Zach JW, a man who had a relatively poor start, I believe, last week. So we'll see if we can improve on that. Wet weather starts will be something of a bit of an interest in this, as it does require a little bit different strategy getting off the line in a reasonable manner. So we have 5 different constructors in the top 5. 5 different drivers capable of fighting for that win. As we are rounding up to the line, all the drivers relatively well bunched together. We are getting ready to go underway here at Silverstone in just a moment's time. The last drivers are lining up on the grid. Four lights, 5 lights. Drop the clutch and rev the reels. We are underway in 2 jump starts there. Mail the Snail gets a jump start there. We're on board with Zach, who was off to a good start then. He's getting his way around Alan Hugo. Can he hold it around the outside? We have a half spin there from New Zealand Ryan, who slips down the order. Zach gets into P3. A jump start from the Ferrari driver of Jamie then, potentially the cause of what caused Snail to mess up there. And we are seeing Zach off to a great start then. Alan Hugo slips down to P4. A bit of a mess towards the back. We're going to go back. We have a yellow flag then. Palms for the win, spinning on the start. So that will be not amazing for that driver there. Going on board with Alan Hugo, who was able to hold off ABR Mattia, who is now under pressure from Warden. Warden looking for a potential move out to P4 here. And already we have 2 of our top 5 out of position. Of course, being New Zealand Ryan and Mars Berserk. Mattia right up on the back of Alan Hugo 04. Let's see how things play out here. Alan already a second behind Jared. Zach is able to hold on to him so far. So we'll see how things continue to develop. We have a yellow flag, and a Ferrari now has spun. That is Mail the Snail, right at the back, who has spun in Maggots and Beckett's. Pumps to the win, also having spun. No wing damage so far, so it looks to be alright then. We're on board with Zach JW. Another spin. Or is that a pit? No, another spin from the Ferrari driver. So, potentially not being completely ready. I'm not sure what's happened with Zach. But he is apparently slipping down the order. Let's see if that fixes anything. It does not. Alright, so Zach is ahead of Alan Hugo. The display is messing up a little bit there. A yellow sector free. That Ferrari driver, still Mail the Snail, is trying to make his way, I presume, into the pits. Not exactly sure what's happening there. It looks to me that he's just trying to keep the car under control. Looking at these gaps, we have some good gaps going on so far. New Zealand Ryan will be making a charge back up the field. Look at that overtake button from him, making his way past Geordie into Cop's corner. That's a move and a half right there. Managing to force his way past the Renault driver up into P11 from what is a not so great start for the Kiwi driver. Brazuca getting the first of the corner cutting time penalties. Zach is a second behind Jared at this point. And Mattia and Kart Racer going side by side, it looks like. Still too wide are the Williams and AlphaTauri drivers. Mattia trying to hold it around the outside into the inside of the next corner. Switchback from Kart Racer has a potential to work here. Mattia is sliding around a little bit, and Kart Racer backs out, thinks the better of it. He's going to come under pressure now from New Zealand Venom, qualified P11th up in the P8, so taking advantage of the misfortunes of others towards the start. A big lunge there from New Zealand Venom, gets him down the inside. Kart Racer thinks about the switchback, but slots him behind. Laggy person then is going to be the next person to try and take care of Kart Racer. So we'll see what happens there around the outside. No DRS because we are in the rain here. And it looks like Kart Racer just has a little bit better straight line speed. Let's see what that laggy person can do about it. Kart Racer holds the apex and is going to hold on to P9 for the time being. So nothing going on too much at the moment. Some great moves there. We are on lap 3. Your current top 3 are DRC Jared, Zach JW, and Alan Hugo 04. As that laggy person runs a bit wide there. Likely a bit of backwash from the Williams driver ahead. Kart Racer trying to close the gap a little bit on Venom, who made a pretty remarkable move there. A nice big lunge. We're seeing gaps form now between the top 6. The only driver to be within a second, rather, of the driver ahead is Alan Hugo at the moment. New Zealand Venom making some good inroads to the driver ahead, ABL Mattia in that AlphaTauri. Be interesting to see if the drivers can make a one-stop work on these inters, or if a two-stop will be mandatory, just in terms of where. Here we are then with New Zealand Venom, who is closing the gap, 6 tenths behind. And currently the closest car, actually that's a lie, we go on board with New Zealand Ryan, who has made a pass on that laggy person, so I'm not sure if that was a let through or not, but he has made his way past then. Penske just behind this train, in the Haas. So he could potentially look for a move on that laggy person down the straightaway. As we have a yellow sector 2, that is OLR Argon, I presume, spun in Maggots and Beckett's. Kart Racer right on the tail of Venom, so Venom having made a mistake at some point, it looks like. Kart Racer's going to try and hang it around the outside. They're side by side. Look at that fence there, just brushing wheels. Doing a really good job there. But Venom is going to fall back behind Kart Racer, and Alan Hugo, crucially one of your drivers in contention for the win right now, gets a 3-second time penalty, so he will be needing to try and minimize his issues moving further and further into the race. Kart Racer runs a little bit wide. Venom becomes victim of dirty air, and New Zealand Ryan now right behind. Both using overtake. We'll see what happens. Ryan switches to the inside of the corner. What can he make happen here? Venom tries to stick it around the outside. Looks for the switchback, doesn't quite materialize. So that will be Ryan ahead now of his New Zealand compatriot of New Zealand Venom. Ryan looking forward then to Kart Racer to regain the positions that he has lost earlier in the race. Alan Hugo starting to make inroads then on Zach. Potential battle to occur up ahead. 5 tenths, 4 tenths, 3 tenths. Maybe a little bit ambitious on that 3 tenths there. But 6 tenths separate the McLaren driver as there's been another spin. Who is that? That is that Matt in the Racing Point. So sadly for the Racing Point driver, 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits on the rejoin, it looks like. So that will truly compromise his race then. It's one of the other Alfa Romeo drivers, Brazuca, looks to have just reset the track. A little bit of oversteer there from Kart Racer. New Zealand Ryan looking to close the gap, but Kart Racer just has a really good advantage on straight line speed, it seems. As long as he can hold the drivers behind in the corners, in this rain, the drivers behind might not be able to get the chance to develop a passing opportunity. That being said, Ryan taking a better line through the corners. Likely to switch on overtake through here. Overtake on. Let's see what he can get going for him. Switching to the inside once again is New Zealand Ryan. We'll see what Kart Racer can do about it. He's looking for the switchback here as the two drivers still side by side. Only a 10 separate them on the timing charts, and that is New Zealand Ryan up into P7. So a good move there from the Alfa Romeo driver as he continues his charge up the field. Some good separations throughout the track so far. Alan Hugo only half a second behind as Zach makes a mistake there. That is Zach making a small mistake. Now 2.5 seconds behind DRC Jared at the front. What can he make happen? Alan, 2 tenths behind. Will he look for the move here? Switches to the inside. Zach gives him the space, but he gives him the squeeze as well. Zach is able to hold the racing line for the returning corner there, and that will hold him onto P2. All the while, Warden will be looking at the battle ahead thinking, yes, come on, keep fighting. I need to get into this battle. Currently in P4 is the Haas driver, outperforming his teammate Penske down in P11, so not scoring any points for Haas yet is Penske, although he's only a few tenths behind Venom, who appears to be struggling a little bit in this early phase of the race. 20 laps to go. And we're starting to see a few trains form. Penske looks to be an interesting battle to watch here as Venom trying to hold on to the position. Doing a relatively good job at this point. No straight line advantage from Penske, although it didn't look like he was using as much overtake as you might expect there. The Haas driver right behind the Mercedes driver, and Jordy just behind, so this is your battle for P9, sorry, for P8, all the way from Kart Racer backwards is currently a train. Laggy person looks for a move. Not going to happen on this occasion, only a 10th back from the Williams driver. Has to be careful not to end up making a mistake here. As up ahead, New Zealand Ryan starts pressuring Mattia. He could make something happen here. Looks to get a better run out of the corner by taking a wider line. Mattia with a little bit of wheel spin, so that will play right into Ryan's hands. Come for the corner, a bit of contact made there. Mattia holds on the position for the time being. A lot of a squeeze there, not a bit. And that will see Ryan hold position for the time being. A big lunge there from Ryan. Not showing any mercy to the AlphaTauri driver. And that is wing damage then for the AlphaTauri driver. So he won't be too pleased about that. That will compromise Mattia's race quite a lot. And I do expect to see him slipping back the order. Next in line to inherit position then is Kart Racer. After that conundrum there. Be interesting to see if Mattia pits early to try and get a new wing and make up the advantage, or if he will pit later as Mattia switches to AI briefly through Magnussen Beckett's. Kart Racer is still having issues with his audio, so we're going to go on board with Laggy Person and watch this one play out. Who is now also having issues. Oh, not, I guess. What the heck? I think I'm lagging around a little bit. So we come around the corner now. DRC Jared sets the fastest time at the current time with a 136.9. Kart Racer trying to close up on Mattia. 30 Air is holding him back a little bit, but Mattia does have wing damage, remember, so... And Alan Hugo gets a second set of 3-second time penalties that currently leaves him at 6. More than the drivers ahead, so that is not a position that he will be too happy about being in right now. A Laggy Person closing up on Kart Racer, was expecting Kart Racer to make more inroads on Mattia at the time. But now it's that Laggy Person who is closing up on the Williams driver ahead, looking for a potential overtaking opportunity. Of course, without DRS, it is a bit trickier. Just behind that Laggy Person is DJRT P17 Penske, colloquially known as. And this train is your battle for P7. We'll see how well Mattia can hold off for the time being with that wing damage. He's doing an alright job of it so far. Not seeing too much of a compromised pace from him. He is slipping back from New Zealand Ryan, but Ryan at the same time is making inroads to the other top 5 drivers. With a yellow sector a yellow sector 2 and 3. So the end of Magnus Beck is going to switch to Alan Hugo, who is still putting pressure on Zach. Zach doing a pretty good job so far of holding on to his position against this pressure, must be said. We're keeping an eye on, though, on that laggy person in Penske. Just a timing sheet. We'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. It looks like Alan now in a position to challenge as a bit of a look up the inside there. Zach, very respectful of his move. He's got to look to the inside of the next corner as well. Zach should be able to get a run out of here. Oh, there's a big contact! That is your second place sitter, Zach, spun around by Alan Hugo. That has got to be massively disappointing for the AlphaTauri driver. Thankfully, no damage for him. But that sees this man here slip down from P2 to P6. He was in for a good points haul today, but that move there from Alan, I'm not sure if Zach came across Alan or if Alan drifted a little bit wide under these wet conditions. Either way, it resulted in contact and a spin for the AlphaTauri driver, so he will be doing his best to make inroads once again. Alan Hugo currently with 6 seconds, so he is still just about net ahead of Zach, but Warden then promoted to P2, only 6 seconds behind. We'll see if Alan got any damage. Doesn't look like it. It does not look like it. New Zealand Denim now pressuring Penske up ahead. This is still your train. And it looks like what the virus is spreading to each and every driver now. With this red issue. That laggy person just behind Kart Racer. Kart Racer still struggling to get past Mattia, even though he does have wing damage. And we have another spin from one of the Ferrari drivers. Looks like a male to snail, once again. We are nearly halfway through this race now. It's been action so far. Wet races tend to produce good racing. And we are seeing that come to fruition here. That laggy person has a good run on Kart Racer then. So he could be looking for a move. Kart Racer is sitting behind Mattia for the time being. Is he going to be trying to make the move happen though? We will see. We will see. So just behind. Can that laggy person get a run now? He does not use overtake. Neither does Kart Racer. So it looks like they're just sitting in their positions right now and building up a little bit of... well, building up a little bit more of a ERS stall. Pardon me. As we continue on now, still relatively close between a fair few of the drivers. That laggy person looking for a position. Kart Racer starting to make a move on ABR Mattia now. Not using overtakes though. Potentially Mattia just ran out of energy there. And that will see Kart Racer through. 3-second time penalty for Kart Racer though. Mattia looking for a move back. He's doing everything he can to keep that AlphaTauri in a good points position. As even with that wing damage, he's pushing, he's pushing. Might just get the traction zone on him here. Can he try something through turn 1? He's going to think better of it, but pressure Kart Racer, who could make a mistake still. That laggy person switches to the inside. Around the outside, dives ABR Mattia for a last-ditch effort to try and hold a position up the inside of the chicane. Can he hold on to it? This has been a stalwart defense by the AlphaTauri driver, but the Williams driver will move ahead without that wing damage. He has a clear advantage, and I don't see him in a position to retaliate much further than that. We're now going to see that laggy person start the challenge. The AlphaTauri driver up ahead. Looking to the inside then, the AlphaTauri driver closes the gap a little bit and forces that laggy person to back out there. Laggy person should have overtake on. I believe Mattia will be using all of his energy right now to try everything he can to stay out of that Red Bull driver. I don't see it staying or coming to fruition though. With that wing damage, he's done a pretty superb job so far of managing to hold in position. But that laggy person maybe a bit more aggressive on his overtakes than Kart Racer. And we will see that most likely coming into the first corner of Sector 3 as he looks for a move. Is he going to duck around the outside? He does. Mattia holds, pushes that laggy person wide, forces him into a 3-second time penalty. That laggy person is going to dive down the inside. I imagine closer than door to the apex. Yes, he does, and that is him into P8 now, past AB Mattia, who is still struggling with that broken wing at this point. Next on the list to pass is New Zealand Venom, as he starts to make his ground up. Mercedes driver only 3 tenths, 2 tenths, that looks like 1 tenth right behind Mattia at this point. He is sticking his nose in places where he thinks it belongs. He's got a 100% overtake available, so I doubt we'll see him behind Mattia for too long here. Up ahead, not too much action. The gaps are staying relatively the same between Warden and Jared. The Fog gets a 3-second time penalty now, as Venom is using overtake and trying to find a way past Mattia. It's not quite happening right now, though. Mattia will have a slower corner exit speed if he doesn't want to compromise himself. Sorry, I got a notification. And Venom does back out of that corner there. So falling back a little bit more. Alan Hugo, absolutely not been his day today. Gets another 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pits. And Alan, I believe, at this point has just decided to leave and retire the car. So Alan Hugo then stepping away from the car and not getting himself the positions that he might have wanted. There's a spin there for AB Mattia. That's a big crash. Half spin there, but Mattia wipes out Venom as well with wing damage. Mattia coming back on the track almost takes out one of the Alfa Romeo drivers. That is a big issue there, as Jamie does slip backwards. Wow, what a crash. As the McLaren of Alan Hugo comes back out on the track, we will see this likely in just a second. Trying to retire is Alan Hugo. Where are we looking? Here we go. Let's see if we can see him on the other side of this corner. And there he is, just off to the right-hand side of the track. That is Alan Hugo retired from the race. So a few of the battles that were coming to fruition came to in a manner that was frankly explosive. Mattia making a mistake and doing everything he could to hold on to the positions he had with that wing damage that was given to him by... I don't remember who was going to do that. Kart race eventually? Or that laggy person. Not too sure. But we are now on board with Jamie and P10 halfway through this race. 6 tenths behind Geordie. 5 tenths. Just about the closest battle on the track at the time. Next closest would be Ryan, who is now only 5 tenths away from podium position. Coming through the right-hander now. 5 tenths separate Jamie and Geordie, but that will likely extend a little bit as Jamie had a little bit of a moment there with a kick of oversteer on corner exit. Ryan is challenging now Master Berserk. A big lunge up the inside from the Kiwi driver. Berserk will likely look to try and regain the position, but at this time, Ryan is back up on the podium. Not even back up, sorry. The P4 qualifying driver in the podium for the first time of this race. After a spin at the start. So not too much action around the field right now. Drivers are starting to take their first pits. We will switch our detail mapping to stops made so far so we can see exactly who is where. Wilbur is the first drivers to have made a pit stop. But I presume we'll see drivers coming in this lap as they pass the halfway mark. The rain has stopped, though, So, could we see drivers trying to stay out for as long as possible for the track to dry up? That could potentially create some very interesting dynamics towards the end of the race. Drivers might try and pit a little bit early, drivers might pit a bit late. We might see some punctures happen as drivers try and push those tires out as long as possible. We'll see. So some relatively stable gaps right now then. We're gonna give our leader a little bit of screen time, DRC Jared, currently in P1. The Mercedes drivers, donning the number 9. Having a relatively quiet race today. Took off at the start, managed to gap and hold it a little bit. He's not managed to gap Warden too much since he got there, but the drivers behind Zach and Alan Hugo had a coming together, which caused them to tumble down the order and basically put Jared into a very safe position until the track dries up. P2 right now is Warden 99. The Haas driver, 6.2 seconds behind. He'll be trying to hold off P3 in the Alfa Romeo racing car. The Kiwi driver, New Zealand Ryan, who had a spin at the start and has done a pretty good job recovering up to P3 at this point. The closest battle on track right now is the battle for P9, separated by only about 8 tenths. As New Zealand Ryan puts the fastest lap of the race down. That is a good job there from the Kiwi driver to put down a time. As Jamie, we jump on board with him just as he's getting a 3-second time penalty. 9 tenths behind Geordie. So the Renault driver doing a decent job to hold on to that extra point. Fun fact, right now Geordie will score 200% of the points that Jamie will score. So, Jamie will be looking to try and close up another position and look for a move, but he is slipping back a little bit right now. 1.1 seconds behind. The track, it stopped raining, but it's not drying up quite enough as we've had an off. Who is that? That is, looks to be ABR Mattia, who has taken a gamble to try and get on the mediums. So, obviously not working out for him right now. Have any other drivers tried that? Does not look like it. So Mattia is faced with the choice then of coming into the pits and switching out his tires, or trying to hold on, but by the time it gets dry enough to use dry tires again, he's going to be so far behind, he may as well be praying at this point for a safety car. On board with Jamie, who is still pushing up on the Renault driver, trying to do his best to close the gap and pass. Currently the closest battle on the field, although Ryan has taken a second out of Warden at the stage of the race, and Warden appears to be dropping back a little bit, so potentially starting to have tire troubles as he is dropping back quite drastically compared to Jared. Jared most likely will have done a bit of a better job holding onto his tires from the looks of things. Likely just because he's had clean air the whole race. And you see just behind, New Zealand Ryan is closing quite quick on the Haas driver ahead. The question is, how much longer can these tires last? If we get to a point where these drivers that haven't pitted yet are out on these quite old inters and have to pit, it could prove quite catastrophic towards the end, as we have another spin. That is the McLaren of OLR Argon in Magnussen Beckett's. So he'd be just ahead of Jared now. We are on board with Ryan still, who is now only a second behind Warden. Warden is slipping back a lot now to Jared. So it'll be interesting to see how well Warden can defend here. Because if I had to take a guess, I'd say his tires are falling off. 7 tenths separate the two drivers on the podium steps that are not on the top. Seal and Ryan looking to push forward. Relatively heavy on the brakes. The track is drying, but will it dry quick enough? That is the real question here. Penske in the pits. So we'll switch to tire mode to see what tires he puts on in the pits. Is he switching to dries, or is he taking a gamble and going on to... He is going on to inters. So Penske believes that the track will not clear up before the end of the race. Warden runs really shoo for him. Is that a puncture? I think it is. Can't quite tell. Not quite. So just having a moment there. You can tell his tires are really dropping off. We have a Sector 1 yellow flag that is cleared now. Looks to have just been one of the drivers leaving pits. Penske in a good position to push up the field before it dries out. We'll see how that goes. Warden into the pits. So Warden will be struggling with tires. He will decide to put the inters on again, I'm presuming. It still does not look dry enough to put the wets, the dry tires on. So we will see, The drivers at the front are doing a good job of stretching out their tires, though. It must be said, as Warden comes out of the pits on dry tires. So we'll see how he holds on. I think this is a mistake from Warden here. I don't quite think that the track is at that temperature, but you have to take a risk, because otherwise you're just going to be trundling around in P10. So we'll see exactly. It looks like he's aquaplaning a fair amount here. So still struggling with tires, and that will effectively end Warden's chances of a podium with that strategy call. So Brazuca right behind Jamie now. Looking to close that gap up. Doing a good job in the points there for the second Alfa Romeo driver. Jamie right on the tail of Geordie. Could Geordie be having issues with tires now? This is about where you would expect the tires to drop off. 18 laps on the inters is no small feat. It's all a game of chicken now. Who will blink first going into the pits? And it was Warden. He made a choice, and it frankly wasn't the right one. As you can tell by the timing charts, he's slipping down quite drastically right now. The track is still not in a place where you can use dry tires. We'll see how well these drivers can make these inters last. Jared is likely in the best position to make the inters last, mainly due to the fact that he has had clean air the entire race. So if anyone can make the inters last until it dries out, it will be Jared. 19 laps on these tires then for the majority of the drivers. As Warden gets past Brazuca, Brazuca is in pits now. I think we might just be starting to see the point where the track is crossing over. It'll be interesting to see. No, it's still well on the wet side. Unfortunately for Warden, who continues to slip backwards. Further down the field is that Matt comes out just ahead of Brazuca. Brazuca will be looking to make something happen here. With the fresh tires, he has the opportunity. Argon takes a chance now on the softs. Cold tires for Brazuca messes up his corner exit a little bit there, and he will be trundling a little bit further back than he would have liked to. New Zealand Ryan pits now, so you have to think he'll be going for the inters. Based on what we've seen, it doesn't look like these dry tires are in a position yet to capitalize on the field. So we'll see what his tires switch to. Yep, so he's on the inters still. Drivers, I think, are starting to realize that these inters aren't going to last them the race. And they're having to make the choice between mediums and inters, another set, about whether or not the track will dry up or not. That laggy person in the pits for softs. So that's one driver who is again taking the risk. Maybe a couple laps too early. Who else is that? That's Geordie coming in for softs. So are we seeing the crossover point now? We'll get an idea with that laggy person. We'll see where his gaps sit as he comes out. On the cold softs. In fact, Geordie will probably be a better indication. Or will he? We're trying to find a nice indication. How's Warden doing? Warden is slipping back from Penske, so still not the right tires to be on. These dry tires are not. I think a lot of drivers now are just trying to make the inters last as long as possible. And wait for the track to switch over. Which probably won't happen for another 2 laps at least. So we're seeing a lot of the front runners having to take risks and dropping well back. We'll see what Jared does. Oh, he has done it. He's coming out on the inters once again. He should be ahead of Ryan. What will Zach do? Another set of inters for Zach. What about Kart Racer? He could take the risk. Comes into the pits. All at the end, it looks to be another set of inters for Kart Racer. He's taking the smart choice there. Master Berserk is the one driver, or one driver of 4 that have not made, one driver of 3 that have not made a stop yet. So if he can make these tires continue to last, that could work out really well here for the Racing Point driver. However, if he has to pit, he will get undercut pretty hard by those behind, due to the fact that those inters, those fresh inters, will be a lot quicker than 21 lap old inters. We have a yellow sector 2, that is one of the AlphaTauris spinning. I presume Mattia, as he's the one on the wet tires. Warden continues to slip back, so the dry tires are not the choice to be on right now. As one of the McLarens spin, OLR Argon, as Alan, he goes on one race. 3 laps left. Can Master Berserk make these tires last? It could happen. He could go all the way 26 laps on a set of tires that everyone else seems to be giving up on. It will be quite the feat. One of the Williams, the Fog, having just made the switch to soft tires, chose wrong. He is now half spun, and the cause of a yellow flag at the end of Sector 1. The same can be said for, I believe, Mattia again. Zach has made a good recovery since that half spin up to P4. Jamie right on his tail. But Jamie has not pitted yet either, so he is slipping back. We have a yellow Sector 3 now. So that's one of the Alfa Romeos having a spin of sorts. And based on track position, I would say that would be Brazuca. We're staying on board with Master Berserk because we want to see when he ducks into the pits. If he ducks into the pits, that is. He could try and stick it out for a few more laps. And that looks to be what he's going to do. So on board with the Racing Point driver. 3 laps to go. Can he hold on to these tires? He'll have been the only driver to have taken the gamble. if it pays off, it will pay off massively. So we will see. Around the track, not too much is happening right now. The fog is just retired. A lot of battles that we were having have been contradicted as Master Berserk laps his teammate. Is that Matt spins on the fresh mediums. So still, the track is not in a position that is ready for these dry tires. An increasing number of yellow flags cropping up around the field. So how will this all play out? Will Berserk risk it, or will he come in and choose something a bit better? Is the track in a position that is dry now, or are the drivers that are on the dry tires going to change to the wets? Berserk has to make 2 more laps on these tires. This is tense stuff. Him and Jamie, the only drivers that are staying out so far. I'm taking this gamble. Everyone else has made a pit. Jared has closed about 3 seconds, but unless Berserk's pace really falls off at the end, I don't think he's doing enough. And from my memory, Berserk's driven a really clean race with no penalties. So this could work out really well for the driver in the Pink Panther. You can see Geordie's actually unlapping himself there on the fresher inters. So such is the pace advantage of the newer tires. And Berserk will really just be taking it nice and slow on these tires right now to try and conserve them. Coming through Cops for the penultimate time. Through Maggots and Beckett's now. 10 seconds separate Master Berserk and Jared. 9.9 seconds. One more lap. One more lap is all he needs. You can cut the tension with a knife. Can he go all the way? Cross the line for the final time to start lap 26. Racing Point driver of Master Berserk. There is a yellow flag, sector 1. Switched on board. That is Matthias spinning once again. Warden received another 3-second time penalty. Down in 14th now. He is on fresh inters though, so he will be looking to make his way up the field. Drivers that you wouldn't always see in a top 10 have, well, been deposed because they've made the mistake of going on the softs and then had to pit again to redeem themselves of that mistake. It is this driver, however, Master Berserk, who is holding on for dear life on these tires, taking it nice and slow. We're going to pull up the telemetry to see just how easy he's taking it through the corners. He's really just trying to milk the most that he can out of these tires and doing a really good job of it. To come through the final time under the Aramco Bridge, Mattia is disqualified. New Zealand Ryan gets a 3-second time penalty. But through the final corner we go. Yellow flag for one of the Ferrari drivers. Could that be a puncture? We will see. But through the final corner, he comes. Master Berserk, having managed to make the entire race on a single set of tires. Across the line he comes, squeamish as ever, and takes the race win by a commanding 6.5 seconds. A 3-second time penalty applied at the end, brings it down to 3.5. Jared comes in second, Ryan in third. We'll see where other drivers are finishing up. Has one of the Ferrari drivers ended up with a puncture on the last lap? it does not look like it. So Jamie will be the other driver to complete the monumental task of making it the entire way without pitting. A very good job then for both of the drivers who managed to do that. Brilliant work indeed. So across the line, Jamie comes to P5, having started second to last. So very good job from him there. The rest of the field a little bit more spread out. Warden a lap down, comes across the line. Is that Matt, one of the drivers who did not benefit from the choice to go onto the softs or the mediums towards the pit phase of this race. Has come across the line. Geordie as well, one of the drivers that did not benefit. Although he was doing better. No, he didn't. He didn't make a stop on the medium, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Olar Argon a lap down, who will appear to be the last driver to come across the line. Around the final corner he comes. Through the final chicane. But as this man once again, Master Berserk, in the pink Mercedes, that has managed to take the race win. A very good, consistent drive. Slow and steady, in this case, did win the race, as it gave him the ability to manage those tires all the way to the end. A feat that his drivers around him, Jared and Ryan, thought was not possible. So that is your Formula 1 Pirelli British Grand Prix 2020 for the Raceback F1 Xbox One Pacific tier. Jamie doing a very good job to come from second to last to P5. So a good drive from him there, but it is, once again, this man, Master Berserk, able to take the race win off of the superior tire management and strategy compared to those around him, Jared and New Zealand Ryan. So a good race there overall. An interesting race, especially around the pit phase where we had a fair few drivers make the wrong call. And it paid poorly for some, and for that man on the top step, it worked out very well in the end. So here are your drivers' standings for the end of the day. In first place, we have Master Berserk. Second place, DRC Jared. And rounding out your podium, we have New Zealand Ryan. Fourth place, Zach JW22. Fifth place, Jamie JW21. Sixth place, Kart Racer 566086. P7, we have DJRTP17 Penske. P18, P8, we have Wilberforce 24. P9, New Zealand Venom. P10, Pumps for the Win 87. P11, Brazuca 82. P12, Geordie JL 23. P13, That Laggy Person. P14, Warden 99. P15 is That Matt. P16, Mail the Snail 007. P17, OLR Argon. P18, and your first DNF, The Fog. P19, Alan Hugo 04. And P20, AB Armatia. Thank you so much for watching today. I have been your host, LSM the Butler, in this Raceback F1 Pacific Tier 1 race here at the British Grand Prix. Stay tuned for next week, where we will be going out to another one of the spectacular tracks in the Formula 1 calendar and viewing more of these drivers doing what they do at the top of their game. Thank you so much for watching. I've been the Butler, signing off. Have a good one.